What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another very exciting episode right here on the MIgardener channel. In today's episode, we're going to be talking all about raised beds, but we're going to be talking about things that I want you all to consider when you're choosing the materials that you're going to use to build your raised beds. This is something that we get asked about all the time, especially this time of year when people are, getting ready for the next gardening season. They want to be proactive. They want to take advantage of, the time when they can't really grow a whole lot. They want to get out in the garden. They want to do something. So the best time to either add on to your garden or to start a garden is actually right now. Stuff is still easily workable. The ground is not frozen. There's a lot of materials that are usually on sale, stuff that can help in the garden because it's not typically the gardening season. Right now is actually a great time to get your garden started for the next year. And a lot of people, I've been very happy about this, but a lot of people have been asking me, Luke, I'd like to start gardening. I think this year is the year, or this coming year is the year that I'd like to do it. And I just want to get some guidance on materials. What materials should I build my raised beds with? Or what materials should I start my garden with? And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. So let's get on into it. I'm really excited about it, and I hope you guys are as well. All right, let's go. All right, so the first thing to consider is cost. If cost is a matter to you and you're on a tight budget, there are certain materials that are going to be better than others. So when you're looking at materials, from least expensive to most expensive would be nothing. Nothing is a wonderful, very cost-effective option because it doesn't cost you anything. It's just the ground. And a traditional garden is great. There's nothing wrong with it. And I do always suggest you starting, if you have good soil, trying to start in ground. Yes, you will have some more competition with weeds. Yes, you will have to, work the soil, and you might have to flip it with a shovel, double dig it, get it workable and growable. But it's free. It's just sweat equity. And so as long as you're willing to put the time in, nothing is a wonderful option. Also, you can do things like berms, where you just take soil and build it into more of like a mound, more of like a berm, and you can grow like that. Basically raised beds, but just raised soil mounds, and that's perfectly fine. The next cheapest option is with things like wood. Now, when you're looking at wood, there are many different levels of expense with wood. The first option would be untreated wood. Well, I guess another free option for wood would be like reclaimed wood. Now, reclaimed wood, it's it's kind of a crapshoot as to if you're going to get good quality wood, all dimensional wood, if it's all going to be consistent in shape, size, quality, things like that. So that is another free option. But let's talk about actually purchasing wood, which I think is the route that most people typically go. And so the cheapest alternative for that is just an untreated pine. If you can go with an untreated pine, that's going to save you the most amount of money, but it's untreated, so it will have a shorter life expectancy, which is something we'll get into. The next most expensive option is something like a treated pine. So it has the treated component, which is going to last a lot longer than pine, but it is a little bit more expensive because there's other processes that take place to make it last longer. Now, pressure treated, as we'll get into, is not harmful for the soil. It used to be. It's no longer harmful. They're pressure treated with chemicals that do not harm the soil, do not harm you, they don't add the harmful things like creosote did back when wood was treated with creosote, like railroad ties. So that's kind of the middle line for expense when it comes to wood. And then you have, skipping all the way to the very end, the most expensive option for raised beds would be something like cedar. Cedar is a very expensive option because of the fact that it's a very prized wood, and it has a very long life expectancy. So builders will use it on like houses and shingles and things like that that really take a beating to the weather, and so it is expensive. And to find long, big, dimensional pieces, it can be very expensive. The next most expensive material after like a treated pine would be something like a cinder block. Now, cinder blocks are a wonderful option. They're very inexpensive. They're more expensive than wood, but they're very inexpensive if you're looking for a long life expectancy. If you're looking for something that is not going to it's not going to take a whole lot of shifting and moving around, it's going to be a great alternative for you. A little bit more expensive than your cinder blocks would be kind of the final thing that I would really use would be something like metal. So if you had something like galvanized steel, they use fire rings. We've used those in the past, those big round fire rings that you see in parks and campgrounds. Those make wonderful little round raised beds, but they're rather expensive. For a raised bed that's about, I think, 3 or 4 feet in diameter, you're looking at about $120 to $150. So rather expensive, but it has the longest life expectancy of them all. So because metal, especially galvanized steel, it does not weather, it does not rust, it stays there. And so it's a fantastic option for a really long-term raised bed. Now you can get sheets of galvanized steel, and that's fantastic. The old barns that used to have the galvanized steel siding and stuff like that. I guess modern barns still have it too. But yeah, so you can use like barn siding and stuff, and people will cut them down. One advantage to using galvanized steel is it's really thin, but it's very strong. So it's going to give you that strength. You still will want to add some support in between because it will flex and stuff like anything will, especially when you put like 12 plus inches of soil in it and you're digging in it and doing all that stuff. So you will want to put some support, but it's very strong for the thickness. So you get a lot of bang for your buck. But that's probably the next most expensive, and then at the very end, like I said, is cedar. And so those are the different options that are available to you. And so you can kind of assess where your cost is based on if price is an objective for you. The second thing to consider is the life expectancy of your garden. So when you're looking at the life expectancy, if you're moving into a house, you want to have a garden that you think is, this is your forever home and you're going to be having this forever. Something like a treated pine, or an untreated pine, I should say, has a life expectancy of right around anywhere between 3 years in very wet climates, upwards of 7 years in drier climates. And that's because soil moisture has a big role in just how fast it rots. So 3 to 7 years for an untreated pine. That's fantastic. These raised beds here, we put them in 5 years ago and they're still going strong. Believe it or not, they're still going strong. Now they are starting to rot. They are starting to kind of pull apart in some places, and it's obviously points of concern because I want the beds looking nice and staying in good shape, but I still have at least one more season in them for sure. And these beds only cost me $25. So really, really inexpensive. So yeah, so that's been fantastic. And like I said, very inexpensive, 3 to 5 years of life. Now, if you go with something like a cedar, you're going to get anywhere between 10 to 15 years of life expectancy. Now, compare that to untreated pine, the cost versus life expectancy is pretty marginal. So, but obviously, if the life expectancy is something you're looking for and you don't want to be replacing the beds, cedar is going to be a nice long lasting material to use. With something like a cinder block, cinder blocks as well as galvanized steel both will not weather like wood will. So those are going to be the longest life expectancies, and those really have to do with your conditions. Now, galvanized steel takes the cake and pretty much wins hands down because in wet climates as well as dry climates, it does great. It'll never break down, and it really won't deteriorate, if at all. And so it's a great option for a super long life. Now, there's a little asterisk with a little fine print with cinder blocks, and cinder blocks are a really long-lasting material as well if you live in a very dry and very warm climate. If you live in some place like Arizona or Texas, Florida, some place that does not see freezing weather, you're going to be great. Because here's the problem, is that cinder blocks, though they are a long life expectancy material, they're very absorbent. They absorb water because they're porous. And the problem is that if you make your raised beds with them, what we have found in the past, we have used them in past raised beds, is that during the winter, they absorb water into the kind of porous structure of the brick itself. And then what happens is when the water freezes, it has nowhere to go, it has nowhere to expand, and it cracks the cinder blocks. And so you might get 1 or 2 seasons out of them if you get unlucky. You might get 3 to 5 years if you're lucky in a cold and wet climate. If you live in some place like Arizona, like a very arid place that does not see freezing weather, this would be a great option for you as well, and a very cost-effective option as well. So definitely a really good, nice, long-lasting option if life expectancy is something that you're looking for. Now, again, going back to how long you expect to have your garden. If you're in a starter home and you're planning on moving up, you're planning on expanding or moving, or let's say it's a temporary thing. You're renting your home, and the homeowner, the property owner allows you to put in a garden. You're lucky, by the way, if they allow you to do that. There's a lot that don't. But if you're lucky enough to be able to put a garden in and you know it's going to be temporary, you're renting month by month or year by year, don't put in a cedar raised bed. It's not necessary. Set your garden life expectancy for your home ownership goals. The worst thing I could advise you to do is spend a ton on your garden and only be there for a year and a half, because the objective behind a garden is for it to pay for itself. We see a yearly return on our investment of thousands of dollars. Our initial investment for this garden was right around $550. That included the lumber and the dirt. So lumber and compost, not dirt, but lumber and compost came to right around $550. And so for us, it's a lot of money for some people to put in all up front. But we knew that from the get-go, we were going to be, with the size of garden that we had, we were going to be recouping that cost every single year and growing thousands of dollars in produce. Just this year alone, we grew just shy of $2,500 in produce. And that's incredible. That's money that we got to put back into our pocket that we didn't have to spend at our local grocery store. It was fresher, healthier food that our family got to enjoy. And so that is something to consider, is just the life expectancy that you're expecting to get out of your garden. Now, the third thing to look at with materials, like we were kind of hinting at with the life expectancy, is you want to look at the location. Certain locations, materials will do better in. Like I was talking about with cinder blocks freezing and breaking. That is a material that I would really caution in areas like Michigan, but do far better in areas like Arizona, Florida, Texas, and other areas like that. With the West Coast having rich amounts of cedar is typically going to be better for you because it's also a wetter climate, so there's going to be far more rot, you get far more rainfall, and so cedar would be a better option for you if you're looking at just regional materials that do better. Cedar's going to be better over there than it would be here. Also, the cost of shipping it over here from like California and the West Coast, very, very expensive to truck that all over here because we really don't have a rich source of cedar. We have a lot of pine, not a lot of cedar. And so you do have some regional benefits to cedar where we don't have here. Also, pine is a wonderful resource here in Michigan because we have a lot of pine, but we also have moderate weather. We get rain, we have wet seasons, but we also have dry seasons, and we have nice long periods of dry seasons where things don't rot very quickly. Now, the final thing to consider with the materials that you're using to build your garden out of is the height of the beds you're looking for. Now, this obviously will play a huge role because certain materials are more stronger and easier to make high than others. So this veggie pod here, it's built on a stand. This stand is made out of metal. It's very strong because the higher you go, the more weight you have, the more soil you have. Keep those things in mind. And the more soil you have and the more weight you have, the stronger, more rigid it needs to be. And so this has actually a metal frame on it. Metal's a wonderful option, but things like galvanized steel you can get in sheets, and those sheets are very strong, and with a little bit of side support, they're going to be wonderful options for you. With things like wood, wood, you have to remember, comes in, when it's dimensional, it comes in sheets that are about 12 to 16 inches wide at the widest. And so 12 inches is is the widest that our lumberyard will carry. So 12 inches, if you want to have a raised bed that is 24 or 36 inches high, that's going to be really difficult to be able to stack up 3 tall as well as still have that rigidity. And yes, you will obviously want to put in some side supports. Anytime you go higher than, say, 12 inches, you want to put in some side support so that it stays nice and rigid, but wood is going to be more difficult. And then by far the most difficult to keep really in place is going to be something like cinder blocks. Now, cinder blocks, they come in a set dimension, and there are smaller and larger cinder blocks, but there's not huge cinder blocks like that. So you do have to remember that if you're going to stack up cinder blocks, unless of course you're putting like steel rods through rebar through each hole all the way down to keep it secured, That's going to be very costly. It's going to take a lot of time, a lot of effort and stuff for a raised bed. Cinder blocks probably is not going to be the best option for you, unless, of course, like I said, you're willing to go through those extra steps. That's really the only way to guarantee you're going to get a tall raised bed that's going to stay together over time. Now, the question does always come up, Luke, well, what if I build a tall raised bed, but I just don't fill it with as much stuff? And that's really difficult to do. You know, you can put filler in the bottom. People will put like logs and sticks and whatnot in there, but at the end of the day, you're still filling up that space. That is something that you have to fill up, and you can elevate it. You know, you can make a shallow raised bed, but put it on legs, absolutely. But that's all stuff that you have to take into consideration. A lot of people just like to build their raised beds like straight up, and they don't want to put it on legs or anything like that because legs can get wobbly, they can fall and break and whatnot. But they like to just build their raised beds, and just remember, the deeper the raised bed, the more soil you're going to have to bring in, meaning the more cost of the garden it's going to be, and then also the heavier and more weight is going to be there as well. So those are really important things that a lot of people don't take into consideration. So with those things in mind, I really hope that you guys enjoyed this episode. I hope that you learned something new. If you did, make sure to throw a like up there. I really enjoyed coming out here, despite the fact that it is absolutely frigidly cold. I enjoy coming out here in the garden and helping you guys out. I enjoy helping you all grow big or go home. And with that, I hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll catch you all in the next episode. Grow big or go home, everyone. Bye.